You're listening to the Plane Talking UK podcast, the UK-based podcast written by a passenger for anyone. And here are your hosts, Carlos Stebbings, Matt Smith and Neville Bounds.
Well, hello and welcome to episode number 229 of the Plane Talking UK podcast. I'm Carl Stebbings, and joining me in the kitchen studio, and I'm incredibly pleased he's here because things didn't go quite to plan on Friday.
Did they
it's
not?
Matt Smith.
Hello, everyone. Hello. Did you miss me, Carlos?
Did I miss him? This is the face of someone who really missed this guy Friday.
Right. Okay, never mind.
Apologies for anyone who is in the chat room who was possibly trying to tune into Friday's show, but unfortunately due to an issue with well, I just don't know what the issue was with with something. We didn't get the show out Friday, hence the reason we're here Sunday morning.
Right.
And also joining us via the realms of Google Hangouts, which is again working today, is our other awesome co-host, Mr. Neville Bounds.
Yes, morning, folks. I've never heard such language from you, Carlos, as I did on Friday. I didn't realise that was in your vocabulary.
No.
It's probably just as
He's
well
a regular potty mouth. I tell you, when those microphones are turned off, it's frightening.
Yeah.
How are you, Nev?
Thank goodness we're all here now, and thanks for your help, Matt.
Part of fun. It's a small part of me was actually quite pleased I was missed.
Missed.
But there we are. Anyway, it's good to be here. It's good to be here.
Oh, I'll tell you what, speed dial is not the word.
Yeah, I know. It was a bit of a shock when I took my phone out of the glove box of my car because I was at a social event. I was trying to be a good boy and actually put my phone away so that I'm not sort of there at this. Because I do hate it when you're at a social event and people are all sitting there on their mobiles and all that kind of thing. So I was trying to be a good boy by putting it away. when I got to about sort of half 10 at the end of the evening and sort of got my phone out of the glove box of the car. It was a bit of a shock, I'm not going to lie.
Honestly,
Anyway.
I just got to the stage and I said, right, Nev, we're going to call it a day.
Okay.
And
dear.
I was just unplugging everything and slinging it in the box.
Right, okay. I must admit there was a very brief conversation that I had with Gemma early doors this morning when I got here that sort of said that there was a sort of an exclusion round. There was an exclusion zone around Carlos because he was very waspy, apparently. He was quite great. He was avoiding family members and everything for the rest of the day.
I have got to make a few phone calls after the show this morning, one of which is to my
Apologies,
father-in-law,
I suppose, yes.
who came round on Friday to bring me said birthday present for today, which I haven't opened yet.
No.
And
is it your birthday? I didn't realise.
Possibly my birthday today.
Okay.
And he came to the kitchen door here behind me, and I kind of said hello, father-in-law.
Pleasantries, good, yes.
And that was about it.
Really? That's appalling. You should be ashamed of yourself.
I know, that's how much this show means to me.
This kind of behaviour can't be tolerated. I don't know what you...
Well, yes, I think if it had gone on any longer, that would have been it, really. But,
right, okay.
We were very close to solving it at one point, actually, and then having thought we'd solved it.
Right.
There
wasn't the case.
Oh,
yes.
So...
Actually, you were saying it was a bit too early for the people in the States today, and then I said Uncle Micah just popped up on the old chat room, so there we are, you see. Yeah.
Micah.
Yeah.
Bless him, honestly. I haven't opened his card yet, actually. Micah sent me a card, bless him. I haven't opened anything yet. I haven't even opened... The only present that I actually opened, right, is the steam iron that my mum brought me.
Oh, you are so sad. Oh, my goodness me.
It's one of those...
Is it a USB one or a Bluetooth
No,
one?
it's one of those steam generator ones with
how do you,
the water reservoir
does it
and
play
stuff.
music? No. Is it
awesome.
Connectivity with your
It's
car?
Awesome. No.
Right, okay. Steam iron, everyone. You
Yeah.
heard it here first. Wow. Is that what constitutes nice presents at 42
That's an
years
awesome
old, is
present.
it? Right, okay.
Awesome present.
Yeah.
So
I've got that to look forward to. I mean, what was your 40-second highlight, Nev, when you reached that tender age?
It was such a long time ago, I can't possibly remember. I think a pint and a pie.
Amen.
Pie.
Yes, which is the sort of reaction I'd expect, Nev. I've got to be honest. Not a steam iron. Many man points have been lost, I think, on this particular occasion, Carlos.
So we are going to move ourselves across to the chat room to welcome everyone who has joined us on this Sunday morning. It is the 12th of August. And 1976 was the best year, wasn't it, Matt? In August?
Yeah, November I think was more of a highlight, personally. But anyway.
So it is the 12th of August. It is 10:05 in the morning. Loads of people in the chat room. Thank goodness. We've got Auntie Liz, Matthew Bunting Frame, Evan Shue, Glenn Towler, Mash is in the chat room as well. Johnny Sheldon, welcome to you, Johnny. First time in the live chat room this morning. We've got Tony S. We've got Stephen Agar, who he's going to have to send this one in. Send us an audio clip in of how you pronounce your name, because I hate pronouncing people's names wrong, as you probably know in the show. Pilot Pip is also in the chat room. He said, Pip has said, did you get my present? No, Pip. Unfortunately, the Phenom that was bringing it in was too small. Right. I couldn't make it here. We've also got Micah, our main man Micah, in the chat room as well. And welcome to everyone who's joined us in the live chat room this morning.
Very good, yes.
So we've got loads of stuff to get through on the show today. We've got loads of news stories, and we've also got another awesome segment from Nev, our king of audio-visual stuff. He's gonna introduce that segment later on. But we've got another awesome one from Farnborough, and that's and we've got a top 10 this week as well. We've got a top 10 this week as well. We haven't had one of those for a long while. And hello to Barbara. Barb's in the chat room as well. She's popped in the chat room there.
Right.
So Matt, are you right there?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, keep talking. I've just got a little technical issue.
Drag the segue out a little bit
if you wouldn't mind,
here.
that would be helpful.
And we've also, don't forget, at the end of the show, we've got an absolute pile of details for the barbecue that's happening next weekend. That's next Saturday will be our big barbecue at Seething Airfield. And we've got a whole sheet of information to give you guys, anyone who's coming to the barbecue, about the ins and outs and the what's and wheres.
You can stop filling now. It's all good.
Of the barbecue, but that's coming up later on in the show. So we are.
He's a pro, isn't he?
We are going to start the show as we do each week with a rundown of the weekly news from around the world and the UK. So if you're ready, Matt,
I was born
give
ready.
some glancing looks, and if you're ready, Nev.
Yes, we are now.
See, at the start of the show, you were actually missing me. He's already not missing me.
Let's go. So, kicking off this week's first news story, then, this one is on the newsinfo.inquirer.net. Wow, that's a mouthful.
Indeed.
This news story was obviously big news Friday evening, and I think if you haven't seen this, it's been on nearly every news channel. And the story is all about the Horizon, or the Alaska Horizon Dash 8 Q400 that was stolen. Took on a joyride. I don't know how you quite put this, by an airline worker, and this is one of the latest ones that's just come out in the last sort of few hours on the site. So, the theft of a company turboprop plane by an airline worker at Sea-Tac International Airport, who performed dangerous loops before crashing into a remote island in Puget Sound, illustrated what aviation experts have long known. One of the biggest potential perils for commercial air travel is airline or airport employees causing mayhem. Investigators are piecing together how the airline ground agent working his regular shift role stole an empty Horizon Air turboprop plane, took off on Friday night from Sea-Tac and fatally crashed into the small island after being chased by military jets, F-15s they were, that were quickly scrambled. Officials said on yesterday, that the man was a 35-year-old Horizon employee, 3.5-year Horizon employee, so he'd not been with the company long. He was 29 years old and had clearance to be among aircraft, but to their knowledge, he wasn't a licensed pilot. Obviously, the pictures and stuff, there is various videos circulating on YouTube and stuff on the news feeds from obviously people who'd videoed and sent the videos in. And one of these was the video. Someone had actually videoed the aircraft going into a loop and pulling out of a loop, and then obviously flying. He flew for nearly an hour, I think, this guy with the aircraft. But these,
now, and I hope people understand really that whilst those videos are available, we've decided that because it's a bit of a sensitive subject at the moment, obviously that we're not going to sort of cover it in great detail. But it's a very
thing in your head, how easy it would be. If I worked at an airport, not that I would do, but just walk onto an aircraft. You've got your passes, your ID badges and stuff, so you're not going to be challenged. But I'm surprised. A lot of people, I think, are surprised, and I think you probably saw this as well, Nev. A lot of people are surprised that he managed to get as far on the, on the airport grounds as such with the aircraft to be able to get.
But then, if he's not out of place, why would anybody in a busy airport? Why would somebody sort of?
It's all about being in the right place at the right time, isn't it? I think he probably just didn't do that off the cuff, as it were. I think this was definitely planned, I would say.
Yeah.
I think as well, before we move on, if you go over to liveatc.net, which is a really good site that you can go on to listen to ATC transmissions.
There is actually thank you to Armando who sent us some links actually.
Yeah,
for that.
Armando sent us that. There is actually the recording and stuff, which has now been compressed actually because it was quite a long recording before, and you can actually listen to the ATC transmissions between the chap and the ground control, and it makes for interesting listening.
Right. Okay. Well, we may well cover that in more detail when when all the facts have been sorted out. Really, I think. But
moving on to the next story, and this seems to be a weekly occurrence for you, Mr. Smith.
What's that?
I mean, is there any? I mean, I'll have to check on Flight Radar 24 soon to see if there are actually any Ryanair aircraft.
Right.
flying.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So have I got the wrong? I've obviously got the wrong show notes here.
You brought the old ones.
I've obviously brought the old ones up, haven't I? Okay, so here we go. I brought up the forwarded ones.
No, there's two lots of show notes that I sent you. Honestly, I did warn him before we start the show.
Oh, okay, all right. I've got. You're right. No, it's not that one, is it? No. Okay.
It would be the newest set of show notes that I sent to you.
Okay, we'll have a look at that. Oh yeah! Oh, I see. We're away. Well done. That was smooth, wasn't it?
Matt's good at tech. He is good at tech with
I'm not
the
very good at
this
this
stuff.
Yeah,
anyway, if I was you, Carlos, I wouldn't have a go at Matt about anything at the moment. You know what I mean? After Friday.
I know. All right, Nev. All right. Okay. All right.
Oh, thanks, Nev. Appreciate it. Anyway, moving on. The Telegraph is the story to which we are covering this particular event from, and it's Ryanair faces more turbulence as Polish pilots plan to join the strike. And as Carlos says, it does seem to be a bit of a regular thing at the moment. So European pilots have sought to counter concerns that Ryanair is ramping up the transfer of hundreds of jobs to countries less welcoming to unions. So the president of the European Cockpit Association, the ECA, a body that represents more than 38,000 pilots from national associations across 36 countries, has told the Sunday Telegraph that Polish pilots want to be part of the movement against Ryanair. The low-cost carrier has already signalled its intention to transfer a fifth of its Irish fleet to Poland this winter, a country with very limited union representation, as part of a dispute over pay and working conditions that have now split over across multiple European jurisdictions. And that's basically the end of the story there, but it's a bit of a... Yeah.
Mash is just put in the chat room that Dutch Ryanair pilots have also been striking as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
It must be. I know. I think I read something yesterday on the various news wires that Mr. O'Leary had sort of been poo-pooing it, really, not really. But it must be hurting the old wallet slightly.
I mean, if nothing else, it's certainly hurting the reputation, isn't it? I mean, there's no two ways about that. Don't know.
I say they've got all these new aircraft on order from Boeing. Let's not forget, and they need pilots to fly said aircraft.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you'd think they'd be encouraging pilots to come and join the airline rather than upsetting them.
What do you think, Nev? Is this a bit of a PR disaster? Do you think? Or?
This was going to happen, wasn't it? The moment that Ryanair recognised unions, they were going to have some trouble, and it hasn't taken very long. And they need to solve this quickly, I think, because this will just run on and on. And I suppose, in a sense, luckily, we're coming to the end of the summer season, as it were, or nearly at the end of it. But they need to solve this in the next couple of months, definitely.
Do you think that EasyJet are sitting there like this?
Rubbing their hands together, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's and even BA. I mean, because they've got low cost models and stuff now. I mean, and of course, a lot of these pilot strikes are affecting people who are already abroad, and they're having to pay over the odds. They're paying £300 odd to get. But I think there was one story where they were in Poland. They had to go to Warsaw and then back to Heathrow or something like that to try and complete their weekend away that they had planned. It's a tricky one, isn't it?
So moving on to the next story, and Nev, it's another bit of a PR issue, I think, for BA.
Yes, they've not thought this through, have they? Those BA fellas and girls.
It's not heat
Well,
this
this is on
time,
the SkyNews.com website, and the headline says Indian family thrown off British Airways flight over crying child. Indians are threatening to boycott British Airways after a family claimed that they were thrown off one of its planes because their child was crying. The father, an Indian civil servant called A.P. Patak, had accused the airline of racism as he claimed a crew member threatened to throw his 3-year-old son out of the window if he did not stop crying. Mr. Patak said his family were offloaded, as well as another Indian family sitting behind them who had offered his son a biscuit. BA said that the family were repeatedly asked to sit their child down and fasten his seatbelt as it was stopping the plane from taking off. In a letter of complaint to India's aviation minister, Mr. Patak said he was subjected to humiliation and racial behaviour on the flight from London City to Berlin on the 23rd of July. Mr. Patak said his child started crying when placed in his seat before takeoff, so his wife took the child in her arms to comfort him. He claimed a male crew member started shouting and scolded my son, and said his child was terrified and started crying inconsolably. As the aircraft started taxiing, Mr. Patak said the same crew member came again and shouted at my son that you keep quiet, otherwise you'll be thrown out of the window and we would be offloaded. We were petrified. Mr. Patak said that the plane then returned to the terminal and security officers came onto the plane, took away their boarding cards and those of the Indian family behind them, then marched them off the aircraft. In the letter, the civil servant added, the crew member made racist remarks and used the words like bloody about Indians. Indians on social media have called for a boycott of Britain's national carrier, with many calling the incident shameful. Beena Gupta said Indians should stop travelling by British Airways. And the story goes on. But I think that the problem that they have got here, I think the airline should really have done nothing, first of all, and trying to do things when the situation is already a bit overheated.
Yeah.
So the airplane gets delayed, so they have to go back to the gate. Well, so what? I think just that's a better situation than what they've got themselves into here. And obviously, this is only one side of the story. BA haven't really commented except but to say that it's a safety requirement for all airlines that passengers are seated and have their seatbelt fastened for takeoff. We're investigating the complaint and we'll liaise with our customer.
And
I think they whichever way you look at it, this could have been handled better.
Yeah, well, yeah, and also a part of me is actually sort of, I know this is going to make me very unpopular, but we only do have one side of the story here, and I have to say, given the amount of training and experience that sort of cabin crew are given, I do find this method of approach almost unbelievable. I'm not saying it didn't happen like this. But can you see what I mean? I'm really concerned that because we've only got one side of the story here, I can't help but maybe this has all been a bit over-exaggerated for the purposes of media.
Yes, and you never get the full story, do you? But whichever way it's gone, the result is still the same.
Yes, it is a PR nightmare. Yeah, absolutely. For BA. But as I say, I'm feeling a little bit sort of sorry almost for BA really here, because I don't know. I understand why they've opted not to sort of comment, but I find with any cabin crew that this particular approach seems, I'll be honest, highly unlikely.
Yeah.
But maybe I'm speaking out of turn. I mean, perhaps I'm only lucky in the fact that the only cabin crew I've ever come across, obviously, aka Stuart and Owen, and that they're very good at what they do, and perhaps that's why it seems so alien to me that.
I think Owen could probably charm any child to be quiet.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Yeah, he's the ultimate cabin crew.
We were sitting in where Carlos and I get our haircut at Rogue's Barbers in Beccles there, and
shameless plug.
Yeah, shameless plug, absolutely. Yeah, might get a free haircut, you never know. But we were sitting there, and his wife came in with the kids and stuff, and literally, he just literally immediately started entertaining the two children that came in. It was brilliant. Anyway, that's not the point. Yeah, I just that's what I say. It's normally it just seems a very alien way for them to have gone about it, as you say. Either way, however it happened.
Next week we're going to have a good BA story.
Are we?
Yeah.
All right.
I just feel it in my bones.
Do you?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So next story
Good luck with that.
is on next story is on a bit of a weird website. I don't know quite why this is on this website, but it's on the moneysavingexpert.com.
Okay, well, it's not a weird website. It's a very good website.
It's a good website. Yeah.
Martin Lewis is a bit of a legend. I've got to be honest.
So the headline is Wizz Air named the worst airline for UK flight delays. So Wizz Air had the worst punctuality record of the UK's busiest airlines, Civil Aviation Authority data has shown. Analysis of the regulator's data by the Press Association found that the low-cost carriers' UK departures were 23 minutes late on average. That's not that bad. That was in 2017, compared to an average delay of 15 minutes for all of the 44 airlines included in the piece. Norwegian
Careful, you'll get emails.
had the second worst performance, followed by Vueling Airlines and Thomas Cook Airlines and BMI Regional. The data also showed that Scandinavian Airlines was the most punctual, with aircraft typically taking off just 7 minutes behind schedule. Well, it's still behind schedule. Aer Lingus had the second best record, followed by Air France, Alitalia and Delta Airlines. The rankings, which were taken from Civil Aviation Authority (CAA) data, features the 44 airlines with at least 2,000 scheduled flights from UK airports last year. The average delay figures take into account every flight that operated, including those that were on time or cancelled. Services are excluded from the survey. And it's safe to say that I think in all my years of flying, I've never had any huge delays. The only one I did have was due to a medical emergency, which is fair enough.
Yeah.
But I can probably count the amount of times I've taken off in all my years of flying dead on time on one hand, probably not even one finger. Because I think you're normally, even though you have a ticket that says that you're going to depart at 10 a.m., you're never going to be wheels off the ground at 10 a.m.
I must
admit, very rare, I think.
I mean, I've not done anywhere near as much flying, but I've had sort of several experiences where actually delays are incredibly rare. I can, in all the flights I've ever done, I think there's only been one delay, and that was actually ironically flying to Scotland, where I was delayed for 45 minutes.
Which is a delay in itself,
yeah.
but it's not.
No. I mean, it was a bit of a pain, but Nev?
Yeah, I think the other thing is that they always build in some factors, so, about 20 minutes usually, as a possibility to allow for delay and that kind of thing. But, I have had to do a hotel accommodation overnight twice, so we had aircraft faults and that kind of stuff, but quite rarely, I have to say.
Yeah.
Just whilst we're talking here, do you remember the sometimes on television you have this thing where they say we interrupt this broadcast?
Oh yes, yeah, do.
Dot.
You've got mail.
Well, I've just received an email from somebody which you might like to have a listen to.
Oh, okay.
Happy birthday, Carlos. As long as the family is all gathered together and celebrating your birthday, I thought it would be a good time to tell a little story. So everyone, please sit right back while your main man, Uncle Micah, tells you another AvGeek family story. It always delights me how our family sticks together and helps each other out when we can. It's great being together with our AvGeek family, and it's terrific when I see our family getting together for a meetup, even when I can't be there. So let me tell you a little bit of a family story here. Now, I have a niece, Hannah. She's a niece by blood, not Jet A, though I do think a little avgas may run through her veins from her paternal grandfather. I guess we'll need to get her to a phlebotomist sometime to test so we can find out for sure. Anyway, during her third year in college, Hannah took a semester abroad in Belgium. She's a bit of a polyglot and is pretty fluent in German, not bad in Russian, Lithuanian, and Yiddish, and speaks a little French. She wants to work in international relations, so she hoped that studying in Brussels for a semester would get her moving in the right direction. Hannah arranged her flight to Brussels on her own. She told me she was going to fly out of Dulles in Washington, D.C., and end up with a very long, early morning layover in Toronto. When I heard about her long Toronto layover, I could only think of one person, lovely Liz Piper. Now, this was over a year ago, and I hadn't even met lovely Liz yet. But we were friends through chat rooms here on PTUK as well as APG. Liz and I are podcast AvGeek family. And with that distant, yet very close family connection, She was kind enough to offer to host my niece for the day when Hannah changed planes in Toronto. Now there's more to this Hannah story, though. While living in Belgium and traveling around Europe on break, she ended up in hospital in Dubrovnik, Croatia, of all places. After being diagnosed, she was told she needed surgery, but that it would be best to have it done back in Belgium, where she could go home, or, well, back to her rooms anyway, for post-surgical recovery. She flew back to Brussels via Zagreb and went right to hospital. When I mentioned this to my AvGeek podcast family, it was amazing, simply wonderful, really, that so many spoke up and said, here's my number, here's my address, I'm not that far away. If your niece needs anything, call me, or have her call me. You adopted my niece like you adopted me. Thinking back on that makes me just kvel. That's a Yiddish word. So do you remember Uncle Ralph? I've talked about him a couple of times, both on the Airline Pilot Guy and the Airplane Geeks. I'd say Uncle Ralph was a Marine, meaning the United States Marine Corps, but that would be a lie. Phrased that way would be in past tense. You see, once a Marine, always a Marine. Uncle Ralph is gone for too many years now, but he's still a Marine. Uncle Ralph met Aunt Jerry when he was 15 years old. She was 13 and a half. We're still not 100% sure, but we think my great-aunt Molly, my grandmother's sister, set them up. The story goes that she knew Uncle Ralph from the luncheonette she owned on Long Island in New York, and knew he was, and I quote, a good kid. He was sitting in a booth at the luncheonette one day when Aunt Jerry was there, and great-aunt Molly said, who wants to walk my beautiful niece to the mailbox so she can mail this letter for me? Uncle Ralph jumped over two of his friends sitting beside him in the booth so he could be the first one at Aunt Jerry's side. The only thing that separated them after that was his passing. And even now, it's not much of a separation. They're still in love. Before marrying Aunt Jerry in 1959, Uncle Ralph served as a Marine post-World War II and was stationed in the Mediterranean aboard the aircraft carriers USS Carl C. and Franklin D. Roosevelt. He was a non-commissioned officer reporting directly to the fleet admiral on the flagship. Based on that assignment, Uncle Ralph picked up a lot of shore duty, where he got to see quite a bit of Italy, France, and Greece. There's a long story about how the admiral's car didn't get barged back to the carrier one time before sailing, and Ralph needed to drive it across the southern end of Europe to meet the carrier in her next port. No one was ever quite sure if the car missing the barge was an accident or not. When Uncle Ralph returned to the USA after his enlistment, he never left again, other than a short trip to Acapulco sometime in the 1960s with his then new bride, my Aunt Jerry. That was also the last time he ever flew. Uncle Ralph developed a fear of flying, and no, not the Erica John version, but a true phobia. Also, after being stationed on aircraft carriers so long, and having very good duty, he had no desire to take any kind of cruise. I've had enough of Mediterranean cruises, he would say any time he was asked about it. Ralph had all sorts of pictures of himself during his time in the Mediterranean. I've seen a lot of them, including one taken of him lighting a cigarette from Mount Vesuvius. No, I didn't say on Mount Vesuvius. I said from Mount Vesuvius. He would tell stories about his time in the Mediterranean, but didn't want to go back, something his wife, my Aunt Jerry, always wanted to do. Uncle Ralph's been gone for over 4 years now, and this past spring, Aunt Jerry decided she was going to do it. She had heard Uncle Ralph tell all these great stories for all those years, and she decided she wanted to finally see what he saw. She was almost 81 years old when she decided to go on her own cruise around Italy, one that would be slightly more luxurious than those Uncle Ralph took while enlisted. I was so proud of her when she decided to finally go, and I was incredibly happy for her. Happy, yes, I'm sure you can understand, but proud? Maybe I had better explain. You see, Aunt Jerry is really not a great traveler. I don't think she'd admit this herself, and don't tell her I told you, but traveling really isn't her thing. Kind of makes her a bit nervous at times. But there's more. Aunt Jerry is rather terrified of flying. Oh, she can do it if she has to, and has made short flights from West Palm Beach to Tampa, even to New York. In fact, after my mother, Harriet, died, knowing how much Harriet loved to fly in small planes, Aunt Jerry promised herself she would take her first GA flight and got in the right seat of a 172 with my cousin, her nephew Mitchell, at the controls. She said she was glad she did it, but was sure that my mom, her sister Harriet, was holding her hand from above the whole time as they flew from Lantana up to Jupiter Inlet and back. But driving to Miami to fly to Milan, to change planes to fly to Venice, well, let me tell you, convincing Aunt Jerry just to make the ride from her home 40 miles north of Miami to the airport was not simple. And that was the easy part. The rest of the trip had Aunt Jerry a bit, well, concerned to say the least. Now, you need to know, I didn't make any of Aunt Jerry's travel arrangements. They were all done by a travel agent. So what's a loving nephew to do? Get in touch with his AvGeek podcast family, of course. It turned out that although Aunt Jerry thought she was booked on Alitalia, she was actually flying Acme. This gave me an advantage. I got in touch with dispatcher Mike, who happened to be working the night that Aunt Jerry flew out. He kept an eye on everything and made sure she was on track. He didn't have to do anything, but I know if something were to go wrong, Aunt Jerry would have been taken care of. There's more, though. Weeks before Aunt Jerry's trip, I was in touch with wonderful Jenny in Rome. You see, the cruise ended in Rome, and Aunt Jerry was going to stay there a couple of days afterward. Jenny was wonderful. She said to me, "Here's my phone number. I'll be in town. Anything she needs, have her call me. Or you call me. I'll take care of it." So my family came through for me once again. My AvGeek podcast family. That's what we do for each other. When First Officer Craig got delayed here in Portland, he let me know, and I brought him a lobster roll. We hung out together so he didn't have to kill time alone. In fact, we took advantage of him being in uniform and sat in the local FBO lounge where we could quietly relax and watch airplanes and visit. It was just a couple of months ago that Stephen Ivey was assigned to some last-minute survey flying here in Portland. He couldn't get a hold of me, but did manage to find Jen Niffer at a medium-sized Midwestern airport, who messaged me to let me know he was trying to find me. I remember texting him as I was coming out of a doctor's appointment and while he was in the air. We managed to get together for dinner and meet up twice during his tour here. But that's what family is all about. And it doesn't matter if it's hemoglobin or avgas, it's still blood. At this point in my life, not much of my hemoglobin family is left, but I'm pleased to say that I have a lot of Jet A family, and they're A number one in my book. Thanks for being there. And let's all of us make sure to wish a big happy birthday to my Jet A nephew, Carlos. For PTUK, here in Portland, Maine. This is your main man, Micah.
Oh, how are you doing this, Nev? I don't like his take. I've got officially lost control. Actually, he mentioned Stephen Ivey there very briefly. I don't know if I'm allowed to say too much at the moment because I don't know how public it is yet. But I just want to say to Stephen Ivey, actually, from all of us here, actually, congratulations. I'm sure more details will be available shortly. But yeah, congratulations on his recent.
So thank you for that, Micah. you sly old fox, you.
Not so much the old. Be nice.
So he's
never mind.
awesome.
Sly old Micah, sly old Nev over it.
Yeah, Nev.
Yeah, that wasn't in the show notes, was it?
No.
Yeah, that wasn't in the show notes.
No.
He's going to be in a hump now for the rest of the day. You realise that, don't you?
Oh dear. No, honestly, that was awesome, Micah. He's so good.
Absolutely. I'm a bit
He's so
scared
good.
now. What else? What? I can't help but feel this isn't over yet. Anyway,
Anyway,
we'll move on to the next story.
Yeah. So
chat room's going nuts. By the way,
next.
everybody's wishing you
You're next.
happy birthday.
Thanks, everyone.
By the way,
Woo.
yeah, absolutely. You've got where are we? We've got
Daily
Richard
Post.
King busy saying happy birthday. Neil Lamborn says yes, happy birthday, Carlos, or Stolat as we say in Poland. Poland. One of the pre-buy guys, Sebastian,
Dom.
says enjoy, Carlos, happy birthday. Barbara Parish says happy birthday, Carlos. Yes, and then Nev started freaking me out. So that's all. I've officially lost control, everyone. This is great. And Dr. Steph, who's
I know,
in the chat room, says
Steph.
happy birthday as well.
Oh, thank you.
Anyway, yes, on to the next story. So this is on the Daily Post. We are doing an aviation show, right? Just
No,
checking.
it's my birthday show.
Okay, fair enough. So the Daily Post is the newspaper or article that we're reading it from, and the headline is Air China takes its first Airbus UK A350-900. So the aircraft will initially operate on the airline's domestic routes, followed by flights to international destinations. So Air China has taken delivery of its first Airbus UK A350-900. So the national flag carrier is the first Chinese mainland customer to order and take ownership of the world's newest twin-engine wide-body aircraft. Powered by Rolls-Royce Trent XWB engines, Air China's A350-900 aircraft features a comfortable three-class cabin layout of 312 seats, 32 business, 24 premium Economy and 256 Economy. The airline will initially operate the new aircraft on its domestic routes, followed by flights to international destinations. Airbus UK's Broughton plant manufactures the wings for the Aero Giants aircraft. As of July 2018, Air China operates a fleet of 201 aircraft, including 142 A320 family aircraft and 59 A330 family aircraft. An Airbus UK spokesman said, bringing new levels of efficiency and comfort to the long-range market, the A350 family is particularly well suited to the needs of Asia-Pacific airlines. To date, the A350 family firm orders from carriers in the region represent over a third of total sales for the type. Up to the end of July 2018, Airbus has recorded a total of 890 firm orders for the A350 XWB from 46 customers worldwide, already making it one of the most successful wide-body aircraft ever.
They've done well with this 350.
Yeah.
Obviously, we saw the Dash 1000 at
did we?
Farnborough. The
Yes, of course we did.
the
Doing
big
a little
daddy,
display.
the big daddy of
Yeah,
this one. This is
absolutely.
slightly smaller than 900, but this is becoming increasingly popular with airlines now, and I think this is going to be on my to-do list for next year as to when if we go long haul somewhere, I shall be searching out to try and get the 350 flight somewhere.
Yeah.
Nev,
I
are
bet.
you going to try one of these out soon?
Yeah, look forward to that. I can't find a destination that I will be going to that runs it.
Appeals,
I'm sure I can find one somewhere.
Find somewhere. So up next then, Nev, it's one for you.
Yes, quite a spectacular. I don't know if you've seen this on the television at all, but it's on the bizjournals.com website, and it's about the firefighting 747 that can drop nearly 20,000 gallons of water or fire-suppressing chemicals, and it's fighting the wildfires in California at the moment. Based in Colorado Springs, the global supertanker is a Boeing 747-400, dubbed the Spirit of John Muir. It's equipped with tanks and sprayers for dropping water and fire-retardant gels, foams and liquids to douse fires and coat trees, brush and homes to prevent fires from advancing. The 747 was certified for firefighting flights by the FAA in September 2016 and fought fires in Chile and Israel before being contracted by US officials to fight California wildfires in 2017. Global Supertanker Services says that the aircraft saved Chilean firefighters from an advancing blaze and set a world record for liquid dropped by an aerial tanker in a single day, dropping 134,400 gallons in 7 flights. The global supertanker Boeing 747 has almost twice the capacity of the next largest aerial tanker and can adjust the rate of spray from its tanks to fit different firefighting needs. The jumbo jet has a cruising speed of nearly 600 miles an hour, putting it anywhere within North America in 5 hours and anywhere on the planet within 20 hours, including fuel stops if needed. The 747 also has 14 first-class seats and 2 bunks for support staff and additional flight crew. The jet is now fighting the holy fire in California's Cleveland National Forest. And the jet can also be used for fighting marine fires, such as oil tankers, ships, or offshore drilling rigs. And it's certified by the US Department of Agriculture for oil spill dispersal and may one day be used for aerial reseeding of terrain devastated by wildfires. So it's a fascinating series of pictures on this as well, and it's amazing the capacity that this thing can take. And just seeing some of the stuff on television this week when they were using it,
It's been stunning, hasn't it?
incredible to see, wasn't it?
Yeah, although a small part of me rather enjoys the fact that it had 14 first-class seats available.
I'd imagine they're on the upper deck. I'd have thought on
Right,
this,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, sort of away from the water tanks, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're also, this company as well are also Coulson Aviation. They're converting an old Southwest Airlines Boeing 737 as well to do firefighting, which is quite interesting. It's also part of the story as well further on, but no, it's good. The pictures on there are awesome, seeing what this can do. It'd be interesting to know, actually, Nev, how long it takes to fill this up.
Yeah, a while, I
with
bet.
the fluid.
And also what happens to the centre of gravity and the performance of the aircraft when you dump all this fluid. I mean, it must really change the characteristics of the aircraft. I mean, obviously they've worked all that out, but I'd be interested to find out how that all works.
That, as you say, that must have a massive impact on the way that the pilot is operating the plane as it's jettisoning its load.
I feel an email's needed there.
Okay.
To Coulson, yeah.
Right,
Perhaps
okay, good
put
luck.
that on my list of to-do this week.
Okay, fair enough.
So the next story is on the bizjournals.com website, and this is about a certain aircraft, Nev, that I think you may have seen a few weeks back. The headline is Old Airbus A380 fills in for Boeing 787 Dreamliners. I can hear Nick already saying something. Grounded with engine woes. So a second-hand A380 is filling in for grounded Boeing Dreamliners. Boeing customer Norwegian Air Shuttle leased the 12-year-old A380 for several weeks into late August. The four-engine Super Jumbo flew originally for Singapore Airlines for nearly a decade before flying Norwegian flights between London and New York. So the Norwegian jet needed after several of the ultra-low-cost carriers, Boeing 787s, were grounded due to ongoing troubles with their Rolls-Royce Trent 1000 engines that triggered mandatory inspections and maintenance. So the Norwegian leased the plane from Portuguese airline Hi-Fly, which provides a full package of aircraft, flight crew, flight insurance and maintenance staff to all airlines under wet leases. So Airbus and Hi-Fly rolled out the repainted A380 at Farnborough, as we saw a few weeks back, and Hi-Fly CEO Paul Mpuri wants to add even more used A380s to his fleet. He said that we do believe in the second life of the A380. He told Bloomberg, if you expect 25 years of operation, this aircraft has passed just over 1/3 of its commercial life. The same A380 jet served as a temporary replacement as well for aircraft for Thomas Cook Group, which used the double-decker to manage its own airplane shortage, flying summer vacationers between Copenhagen and Cyprus and Oslo and Mallorca. Hello. We've got some music playing. Thanks for that, Matt.
Sorry about that.
Birthday music.
That would be me preparing my next story. I know. Sorry, that would be my laptop getting. I was trying to be clever and get ready for the next story. So there we are. That went well, didn't it? That's the only trouble when you're using the machine that goes out on the playout system. Anyway, moving on.
So in June,
I don't think anyone noticed.
I don't think so. I won't bother to edit that out. It'll be fine.
In June, a German investment company said it would strip 2 retired Singapore Airlines A380 jets for parts after the airline decided refurbishing their cabins would cost too much. Despite winning a few new orders and undergoing a production cut last year, Airbus argues that the 380 is an essential part of the solution to sustain air traffic growth, alleviating congestion at busy airports by transporting more passengers with fewer flights. The A380 can carry 575 or 800 passengers if it's really crammed, depending on the configurations in its 4 seating classes, and offers a range of 8,000 nautical miles. So I actually saw another story that was kind of linked closely to this as well, and it was about Norwegian using this aircraft for these flights that it's using them on, and they were saying that people, because obviously this aircraft has still got the first class suites in that Singapore had when they used it, and the story was that apparently people who upgraded their tickets with Norwegian to kind of like a premium seat were being put into the first class suites on the aircraft.
Oh wow!
Which I think, if you think you're probably paying, I don't know, upwards of £10,000.
Yeah.
If you were flying first class with Singapore. And a premium economy ticket or premium ticket with Norwegian is probably hovering around £800 or ish. I'm not 100% sure.
And you end up in first class.
Yeah. You'd be quite.
That's not to say that you were possibly getting the food that you would normally get. Perhaps you just got a comfortable seat.
You got an incredibly comfortable seat. Yeah.
Indeed. Would you mind a bit of this, Nev?
I'm sure that'll be fine with me. Perfect. Okay. And it was interesting. We were speaking to Philomena, who's the commercial director of Hi-Fly at Farnborough, and in fact, we were doing an interview with her in a couple of weeks' time as well. We've got that to play out, and they're very serious about this operation. These wet leases to these other airlines that got aircraft on ground problems or engine issues or capacity issues. So I think they're going to be doing really well.
I mean, it must be sort of comforting for the airline as well, in the fact that if you can wet lease something, it sort of gets you out of a muddle immediately, doesn't it? You've got, all right, I know it's costing the money, etc., but you can get yourself out of a muddle straight away. It's quite nice, actually. You think this it's quite nice to sort of almost be following the progress of this handover that I felt very privileged to actually witness while we were at Farnborough. It was quite nice to sort of because you hadn't made it on the Friday by then, had you?
I was still driving down.
Yeah, absolutely. But no, it was quite nice to sort of be part of the handover process. It's quite. I feel quite smug. I'm not gonna lie.
So Matt, the next story.
Yes, okay.
This one just. This just made me laugh when I saw this.
So this is on time.com, the website, and the headline is: people are understandably distressed about this diabolical airport power outlet prank. It's obviously a slow news day. So basically, anyone who has ever been to an airport knows that finding an open power socket can be one of the most stress-inducing aspects of flying. Really? So it should come as no surprise that people are freaking out over this power outlet sticker prank. Thanks to one beleaguered traveller's commitment to exposing this diabolical trick to the world, a photo of one of our fake sockets has gone viral. So whoever put this fake sticker up of an open outlet at an airport, you are now my enemy for life. One Twitter user, Brandon Ewing, captioned a photo set of himself discovering the ruse. Of course, Ewing hasn't been the only one to fall for this prank. Several others have also recently shared their experiences with fake airport outlets. Why it looks so real? Put a sticker of an outlet on the wall in the terminal building, questioned another victim. So triggered, whatever that means. It's I can sort of see why it's kind of
there is a short video actually a bit further down, Matt, that someone's posted, of
where are
obviously
we?
filmed
I
someone.
see. Right, okay. Hang on, I'll see if I can get it to.
When I saw this story, I just thought it is one of those things. A lot of people nowadays do like to charge their devices at airports, and there are like charging stations and stuff at most big international airports now where you can charge your phone. But this idea is such a joke, honestly. This actually, when you look at the pictures, it does look. There we go.
I think you're that's right. Okay.
Oh dear.
They do look incredibly realistic.
They do, yeah, absolutely.
Honestly, Nev, would this catch you out? Obviously not with a US pin.
It's
but
so childish and immature, isn't it?
Yeah,
I just ordered 500 of these.
Right.
To play strategically around.
Absolutely, yeah. Do they do UK version? Do they do UK version ones, Nev? I think I quite like to sort of.
Sure,
yeah.
I'd love. I tell you what, I'd love to get a handful of these and stick these on board aircraft in various places just to see people trying to force USB.
Well, yeah, I don't know if I want them to do it on aircraft in case they manage to push it through the But anyway,
but it's just a little funny story. I just thought I saw this, and it just one of the pictures even shows one of these stickers being put on the floor.
Yes,
I mean,
but you say that, but there are stickers. There are sockets in the floor.
I know.
So, and in some countries they don't bother to put covers on them either. So anyway, that's not very nice. Yes, that's a very evil story. Moving on.
So moving on, and Nev, next story's for you.
We've been talking about these ultra long haul flight services over the last few months. Well, here's another one, and this is from thedailymail.co.uk, and it's all about Singapore Airlines, who are going to relaunch the world's longest commercial flight in October, which is a journey of nearly 19 hours from New Jersey. The daily non-stop journey from Changi to Newark Airport will cover about 10,300 miles and take about 18 hours 45 minutes. Due to rising fuel prices, the airline had to cut the route in 2013, but starting on October the 12th, the company will relaunch the flight in response to high customer demand for the journey. Lee Seething, the regional vice president for the Americas at Singapore Airlines, told Yahoo Finance that the company had gotten a lot of feedback from our customers. They really like the flight because it saves them a lot of time when they're traveling from the US to Singapore. We've been looking for a solution like this all the while, and when Airbus came up with the A380, Lee said this was the answer. They're very excited about being able to bring back these non-stop flights. It's been 5 years in the making. The current record holder is Qatar Airways Flight 921 from Auckland to Doha, which takes 17 hours and 40 minutes. The Singapore Airlines flight will use the ultra-long-range Airbus A350-900 ULR, which will be configured to carry 161 passengers, 67 in business class and 94 in premium economy. The airline, which was recently ranked as the top airline in the world, had flown a similar route from 2004 until 2013, but cancelled it as it fell short of revenue expectations. However, its latest decision comes as carriers look for new sources of revenue in a competitive environment, whilst long-haul flights often make more cash than those requiring stops. There are also plans for a non-stop route from Singapore to Los using the same plane, the airline said. The new route comes as the city-state's flag carrier faces tough challenges. Last year, it consolidated its low-cost units Tiger Air and Scoot into a single entity and in a streamlining exercise. And this month, it said it will absorb its struggling premium regional Silk Air into broader groups following multi-million-dollar upgrades as part of reforms to stay competitive. So it's interesting, isn't it, that they're trying to look at new ways or new offers for customers, and ultra-long haul, now they can actually make it work. With the fuel reserves they need on this sort of aircraft, they think they can get more revenue out of it. So it'll be interesting to see, won't it?
I'm surprised they sort of cancelled. You'd have thought they'd have been fairly popular from the outset. Do you know what I mean? I'm sort of surprised they.
I love long
they
flights.
cut the
Longer the better.
Right. Okay.
Glenn Taylor's said in the chat room that 19.5 hours is way too long for him. 14 is plenty long enough. Which I've done a 14-hour long journey. So yeah, I didn't mind that. But Auntie Liz has said that she's not sure that she'd be able to do a 14-hour stint on an aircraft, but
let alone 19
or 19. But I do believe that we'd all be in agreement that if you are flying in a first class suite with, say, let's say I don't know, Etihad, in the residence suite, and for a flight that long, you'd probably not be that annoyed. With a double bed, a shower,
bearing in, all right, we'll take that into consideration. Nev,
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw this to you then. If you're gonna do one of those flights as Carlos is describing that, I wonder how much a 19-hour flight in an in said Etihad suite might actually cost.
It's not cheap.
I'm guessing that it's got to be what, £15,000.
It's going to be silly money, isn't it? Absolutely. I mean, do Etihad do anything sort of along those lines?
Yeah, Etihad have got the residence suite, which is obviously
no. I mean,
19. I don't think
flight.
so. I mean, Etihad obviously fly to the UK, which is sort of 9.5, 10-hour flight. But I mean, if you're flying in luxury, like I said, with Singapore, do the double bed thing where they have double beds.
Yeah.
You know, if you're flying for a flight that long and you've got the ability to have an actual sleep on an actual bed with actual pillows and duvet,
you might actually feel
you'd kind of feel, especially because of these suites are enclosed with doors that shut, so you're not open to everyone else. So privacy's there as well, which makes a hell of a difference to when you're flying as well. So I think, you know, if you're given that opportunity to do a massive long haul flight like that and you're in first class, happy
you could
days.
Probably handle it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
As long as they kept the champagne flowing, hey, it'll be fine.
Oh, yes. So if you're listening, Etihad, would love to try out the residence suite. Just give us a shout.
Okay, good luck with that.
Podcast at planetalkinguk.com. And the next story is on the Flight Global's website. And this headline is First Primera A321neo involved in Toronto fuel incident. So Scandinavian carrier Primera Air's first A321neo has been involved in a fuel emergency incident following a transatlantic service to Toronto. The aircraft had been operating flight PF45 from London Stansted here in the UK on the 24th of July. The Transportation Safety Board of Canada states in a bulletin that during the descent the crew declared a fuel emergency and were given priority for a runway 23 approach. Shortly before 9 p.m, as the aircraft ascended through 8,000 feet, the crew were asked by approach controllers as the to the quantity of fuel on board. The crew replied that the jet had 2.3 tonnes and would have 2.1 tonnes left on arrival, and also confirmed the 204 occupants on board the flight with no dangerous cargoes either. Controllers cleared the aircraft for an RLS approach on runway 23. In the Transportation Safety Board states that the aircraft landed without incident at 21:10. Primera Air took delivery of the CFM International Leap 1A powered aircraft, Oscar Yankee Papa Alpha Alpha, its first A321neo in April this year, part of a strategy by the operator to open new transatlantic routes from the UK and France. It disclosed last year that it would be operating from London to Paris, operating from London and Paris and Birmingham to New York and Boston, with its A321neo fleet. Sorry, I had a touch of the Dana there. And subsequently stated that it would include Toronto in the new transatlantic network. Now, these, the Neos, the new engine option A321, obviously these are designed so they can do the transatlantic hop. And to have a fuel emergency, I'm sort of guessing here they might have had a slight headwind, Nev?
Yeah, I think also sometimes when you get unfavourable winds or unforecast unfavourable winds, you've always got to keep a lookout for it. But I think that because if they get to a certain point, they have to declare an emergency anyway, even though the aircraft probably is going to land okay. But of course, if it had to go around or it was held up on the way in,
that'd be a different story.
Serious problem.
Actually, Auntie Liz has just said in the chat room, because she's just a wealth of knowledge.
Of course.
Runway 23 is the longest runway at Toronto. So there we go.
Right. As I say, I think as Nev's saying though, I think that's why you say there's probably enough fuel on board, but as you say, I think it's more a warning to the tower. We don't have time to go round, basically.
And Armando in the chat room, hello Armando, he's said that he's been looking at using Primera from Stansted to Washington DC. So he might have a
passenger experience
segment
indeed.
There. Excellent. So moving on, the next story, Matt. This one is a bit of a tech kind of whizzy kind of
so this is on the Aviation Week network, and the headline is "Virtual Reality Informs Passengers Booking Airliner Seats." So airlines are starting to use three-dimensional technology to provide customers with a detailed, immersive view of their aircraft interiors during the booking process. By allowing passengers to virtually experience the cabin before selecting their seats, the hope is that their expectations will be more accurately met. Also, by showcasing premium products in this way, there is a possibility that customers will be tempted to upgrade. So Emirates announced in July that it had introduced a 3D seat model to its online reservation system, and says that it is the first airline to use web virtual reality on its digital platform. Alex Niche, who is the Senior Vice President of Digital at Emirates, said that the carrier had been looking for this for about 12 months, but it wasn't easy to find a vendor that fulfilled our requirements. The Dubai-based airline sought more than an app-only product. It wanted something that could be embedded into its website and accessed on desktops and mobile devices with or without the use of VR goggles. So Emirates opted for Spanish technology company Renacan, is it? Renacan? 3D seat map VR product, which provides a 3D 360-degree view of all aspects of the carrier's cabins, including the onboard lounge and shower spa on its Airbus A380s. While the experience is viewed through VR goggles is more immersive, says Niche, the other devices also provide a more detailed look inside the cabin than has been available previously. From the very beginning, we wanted to reach as many customers as possible. Therefore, our product can be used on personal computers, tablets, and smartphones. In the case of personal computers, for example, we can use our mouse to interact with the 3D view. If the computer has a touch screen, or if we use a tablet or smartphone, we can directly interact with our fingers with the immersive view. For those who are looking for maximum immersion, the VR view allows the camera to respond to the movements of our head, obtaining a much greater immersion sensation, which really does make us feel as though we're inside the aeroplane. Martin describes the project as the logical evolution of seat maps and believes it will provide it'll prove popular with airlines as they continue to invest more in the interiors as a means of competing with rivals. Airlines and their suppliers have been searching for years for the most efficient way to showcase more information about their cabin interior products, and there is no better combination than an immersive experience during the booking process. We are convinced that one day 3D seat maps will be the industry standard, they say. I mean, there's more to this article, but you basically get the gist. It's what's the matter with you?
I'm just reading the chat room comments.
Neil
Lanwarn. Oh dear, Neil.
Yes.
Neil has said virtual crying babies going out the window.
Oh, that'd be nice. Yeah. That's an unusual approach.
Anyway, going back to the story. There's been a kind of bits and pieces like this you can find online and stuff for a little while, but this, I think, is a good idea with airlines and stuff. If you wanted to see what the cabin layout and how the stuff will look like before you go on board the aircraft, because you can do that thing on your phone, can't you, where you can have like a 3D, 360 degree.
I don't know. I don't know if it will. I mean, saying that it might tempt someone to buy the seat,
a premium
or first,
business. But
then you think, well, if you'd had the money, you would probably be making that decision based on your bank balance rather than what was, than it's actual. I mean, a first class seat is a first class seat, isn't it? I mean, I suppose some are better than others. Have you ever done first class, Nev?
No, I haven't. I've never had the cash to do it.
No, indeed.
And yeah, it's just so expensive, isn't it? So
it is.
no, I've done business class a few times on the long haul sectors, but nothing better than that, unfortunately.
Yeah, but I mean, presumably your decision wouldn't be based on
VR goggles,
the VR goggles and what it looked like in your headset. I mean, it wouldn't. And I love a gimmick. Don't get me wrong. I think I suppose it's much more useful to those of us perhaps who are travelling in economy, because you can have a look and see realistically where you are in the plane and how that fits with how you feel about flying. Maybe.
I suppose if you can't afford business or first, such as us here,
mortals,
and you wanted to have a go at business and first class, you could put the VR goggles on and imagine that you're in business or first class.
I mean, I have been lucky enough to do business class once, literally once. And it was amazing. It was, as I say, it was rather nice to be sat there supping champagne whilst the cattle were being loaded in the rear. It was all very civilised. Yes.
So the next story is this one is on the Daily Sabah for you, Nev.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, it's in the business section, and it's all about Turkish Airlines are going to make their first passenger flight from the new airport in Istanbul on October the 31st. Heavily engaged in preparations for the massive transport of its facilities and equipment, Turkey's national flag carrier, Turkish Airlines, is counting down the days for the opening of Istanbul's new airport and the first day of operations. The airliner will make the first flight from the new airport, due to open on the 95th anniversary of the Republic of Turkey on October the 29th, to the capital Ankara on October the 31st at 2 p.m. The chairman of Turkish Airlines said, "We're preparing for the world's most expansive transport, the largest moving process to Istanbul's new airport. Solely for Turkish, 5,000 trucks will be deployed in the transfer of all equipment and facilities of the airliner to the new airport, which will last 45 hours under the coordination of the General Directorate of the state's airport authority. And following the massive migration, Turkish will carry out its first flight to the capital city, Ankara, where Turkish Republic was founded, at 2 p.m. The first overseas flights will be made to the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus and Azerbaijan," he noted, referring to previous statements. Giving details on the aspects of the new airport, the Turkish chairman said that it's located in an area of 76.5 million square metres. The new airport is twice the size of the Çanakkale province, Bozcaada, and the utilization area of the terminal is 1.4 million square meters. The airport will also have the world's largest duty-free, with a size of 35,000 square meters. And the Turkish chairman said that the airline's lounges in the airport will cover an area of over 16,000 square meters. And Turkish will have 43 boarding bridges at the new airport, which will have a total of 143 boarding bridges. The story does go on in some detail, but this is an absolutely massive logistics effort to move the whole thing to the new airport. So
and a massive airport, of course, as Carlos was just showing me some picture while you were reading that. I mean, it's a
huge
massive
airport.
operation, isn't it?
Yeah,
Did they say 45 trucks? I mean, that's ridiculous.
Yeah,
That is good.
right.
But then I suppose, the best way to do it is quick and just get everything over there, isn't it? Regardless of how much. If you're moving home, I suppose it's just, just us mere mortals can get it in a van,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a massive undertaking. There's actually a picture if you go take yourselves onto to Google. If you look on to, actually Wikipedia's got a good aerial photo of the airport under construction, and it's huge. I mean, the longest runway that they've got there, 16 left, 34 right, is 12,303 feet.
Wow.
Long, that runway. But it's be interesting to see. I mean, I've never been to Turkey before, but it is a busy destination to go to anyway.
Yeah, I bet.
So we have got one last story for you this week, and it's a top 10. We haven't had one for a while. This is a new top 10 that came out this week, and this one is on the uk.businessinsider.com. And the headline for this top 10 is ranked the 10 best airlines in Europe. So, consumer aviation website Skytrax recently released the rankings of the best airlines in the world, which I think we covered a few weeks ago. So they've released the rankings of obviously the best airlines.
Indeed. Should we get straight into the top 10? Here we go.
So, Nev, I think you should take number 10.
Yes, of course, it's British Airways, and it's the largest airline in the UK by fleet size and was formed in 1974 following the merger of BEA and BOAC.
In at number 9.
At number 9, it's the lovely, gorgeous red airline. It's Virgin Atlantic, and it's Virgin Atlantic is the crown jewel of Sir Richard Branson's holdings. However, with a 49% stake in the airline, Delta is actually Virgin Atlantic's largest single shareholder. From purple mood lighting all the way to the stylish crew uniforms, Virgin Atlantic's the one to go for.
In at number 8.
It's Finnair, and the national airline moved down 2 spots this year to finish as the 27th best airline in the world. Fortunately, the Helsinki-based carrier was once again named best airline in Northern Europe by Skytrax. Finnair operates an all Airbus mainline fleet, while its regional operations feature aircraft from Bombardier and Embraer.
Bombardier. You made a faux pas there. Anyway, in at number 7.
Number 7, it's Air France. And even though Air France's resurgence took a slight step backward this year, the airline's service and quality remains top-notch. Over the past couple of years, the carrier suffered through a series of labour and financial issues. However, it hasn't stopped Air France from rolling out an impressive lineup of new product offerings, including the impressive La Première first-class suites.
In at number 6, please.
Number 6 is Aeroflot, and whilst their image is in the West maybe that of grizzled pilots wrangling old Soviet machinery through the treacherous Russian winter, in reality things are very different. These days, new Aeroflot operates a fleet of new Airbus and Boeing jets, and for 2018 Aeroflot also won the Skytrax Award for the best airline in Eastern Europe and best premium economy class on board catering in the world.
In at number 5.
Number 5, it's KLM Royal Dutch Airlines. So Royal Dutch KLM is considered the oldest continuously operating airline in the world. Based out of Amsterdam's Schiphol Airport, KLM is famous for its bright blue livery and Dutch house liquor bottle figurines.
Oh dear.
The airline is one half of the Franco-Dutch conglomerate Air France KLM.
Very good. In 4.
It's Turkish Airlines. We were just talking about them, weren't we? And it's the flag carrier of Turkey, and it's got its main hub currently at Istanbul's Ataturk Airport. The airline, which is with its ability to fly to over 100 countries and over 200 cities worldwide, hopes to turn its home base into a global transit hub.
In 3.
At number 3, it's Austrian Airlines. So in both 2017 and 2018, a Lufthansa-owned carrier took home the prize for Best Airline Staff Service in Europe. Oh. The Austrian flag carrier also boasts a fleet of newly renovated long-haul Boeing 767-300 ERs and 777-200 jets flying out of its base in Vienna.
In 2.
It's Swiss International Airlines, and they emerged in 2002 from the remnants of the now defunct Swissair and is now a member of the Lufthansa corporate family. In 2016, the Basel-based carrier became the first in the world to operate the next-generation Bombardier C-Series airliner.
It's a brand spanking new number 1 entry. It's number 1.
Number 1, it's Lufthansa. So Europe's largest airline has surged into the top 10 over the past couple of years. Customers have praised Lufthansa for its exceptional service and overall product quality. For the most part, Lufthansa's long-haul service is good, but for its best results, it would be wise to aim for the fleet of newer A380 Super Jumbos and the 747-8 intercontinental jumbo jets. In addition to a top 10 finish, the German national airline also took home the prize for Best Business Class in Europe and Best Cabin Crew in Germany.
Oh, that was timing, wasn't it? Oh, very good. Well done. Yes, absolutely. Yes, and yes, in answer to your question, Tony, yes, I would very much like to be in the running for a Bullseye remake. But anyway, there we go.
So that is where we bring the commercial news segment to a close this week. And Nev, we're going to hand things over to you.
Yes, you'll be pleased to know we've got some more Farnborough content to show this week. And we've got, we did lots of interviews, lots of different people, but somebody that we hadn't spoken to before, because it was only his second visit to the UK, was the lovely Dana Colton from the Airline Pilot Guy show. And he caught up with Matt at Farnborough, and we're going to play the interview now.
So it gives me great pleasure to introduce another APG legend into the fold, if you will. And it's so lovely to it's so lovely to finally meet in the actual flesh. Dana, welcome to England.
Great to be here, Matt. How are you?
Oh, living the dream, living the dream. So is this the first time that you've been to an air show here in the UK?
Absolutely, first time. Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah, I'm enjoying it.
Good.
Great people.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything here that sort of caught your eye? Have you been? Is this your first day here, or have you been here?
No, we came here Thursday on the pre-show with no public people. So
yes, that was nice, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was great. I got my first experience.
Yeah.
I was de-Virginized.
Right.
No offense to Captain Nick.
Yeah.
But talking about Virgin, but I was on my first 777 I've ever stepped foot on.
Yeah.
Qatar, or Qatar, however you want to say it. I got to do a tour. I was highly disappointed with one thing, though, and that was that I didn't get to see the flight deck. I got to see the business class seats, coach class seats, the cab, even saw the lavatories.
Yeah. But
they had the cabin, the door shut to the flight deck. So, but yeah, that was my first experience stepping on that aircraft.
See, and that's the thing with a pilot, of course. You're just less interested in all the cabin side of things. It's all about the business end, isn't it?
It's all about the business. I want to see. I want to see the baby.
Yeah.
I mean, in reality, I've been in the simulator, back in America before. So I've seen it, but it's been so long I forget what the flight deck looks like. So,
is there anything that really sort of stands out from the show that you've seen here?
Yeah. Great people.
Okay. I was thinking more aircraft.
Actually, the thing that did stand out is that they had the A220, which is the C series, and I really wanted to get onto that aircraft. And I look behind me, and I'm sad to see it is gone. So that's because Acme has acquired a bunch of them.
Okay.
And I'm looking to make my decision whether what I'm going to fly in the future, because my Mad Dog is going away. And actually last night we had an advance entitlement that was came out, and I was very happy to learn that I'm going to still be a captain.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm not kicked off the bottom yet. 58 positions down, but that's okay. It's a good thing. So that's what I was really hoping to do is get on this. I keep on looking behind because I'm missing it. I was hoping really look at the 320, get inside, take a look at the flight deck, take a look at the configuration of the interior, and get to explore it a little bit. But so other than that, just seeing all these great aircraft, all these people. When I was up in the media center with Dr. Steph, I said it's just such an amazing thing to see that so many people, just regular people out there, come out to air shows and
enjoying aircraft, which is
enjoying
just
aircraft.
great.
You know, most lay people don't understand what we really do for a living and how it's done, but just the awe of people that they really enjoy just being around this type of you know, aircraft and event. And it's the same thing over in the States. I mean, that's what's interesting is that when I was here on Thursday, it was all the business end. Today, you see all the families, the kids, and that's absolutely fantastic, because these are all these kids, as we hear one, you know, going by, you know, kind of crying. You know, they're the generation that we're going to need to rely upon. Because we have this huge shortage coming, so it's really nice to see all this.
One of the things I remember from like air shows when I was younger, actually, and it is, as you say, it's the look on the little kids' faces, isn't it? Where they're literally wide-eyed and just loving, like, you know, all the transport in general. I mean, it's buses and everything, isn't it? But I mean, especially when you look behind us. Obviously, we've got the A380 behind us, and I'd never actually seen one for real, really, until we came here today. Because although we saw one a couple of years ago, it was actually up in the air. We didn't get close, and it is such a beast. I mean, I can never get my head around how these things get in the air. It's just, the logistics are mind-blowing.
It is an absolute amazing feat. I mean, if you think about it, in 100 years, a little over 100 years now that we've been in flight, where we've come from flying these super ultralight made out of fabric and wood to, you know, these super, you know,
incredible
machines. 100-ton or what, I don't even know the numbers on it, but maybe it's 1 billion pounds. I have no idea. It's somewhere around there. Such a massive aircraft, get that into the sky. It's a major feat of engineering, and certainly a great thing to be a part of. And I've got to, you know, tell you, just looking at this 380, what I love about this 380 in particular the most is most of you, well, if you don't listen to, you know, our podcast, wouldn't know, but most of you know that I'm a scuba diver as well.
Oh,
and
wow.
I love that. Not too late for coral reefs. On this side of the aircraft is beautifully painted, which you probably don't have the other side. On the other side, 2050, it says all coral reefs dead. So it's kind of a poignant point, and I think that's an unbelievable advertising. I mean, I've never been a big Airbus guy, but the 380, especially the 380, because I think it's probably one of the ugliest airplanes in the world. But it's a beautiful mural that advertises something that I think is very close and dear to my heart.
Quite a bold statement, really.
Very.
You know, when many would argue perhaps that the, you know, aviation is partly responsible for, as indeed, you know, shipping and everything, isn't it, to damaging coral reefs and things like that.
Yeah, everything we do. I mean, we as a human race tend to litter, and that, you know, those things end up going out into the ocean. As I saw when I was at the pub here in England, I saw that they don't have plastic straws, I believe. They have paper straws, which are more biodegradable, obviously.
So, the way forward.
So
absolutely.
It's what I'm really kind of getting at. It's really nice to see that, you know, so many people here that are here to observe such such greatness in aviation, and then right here is a mural to really help educate people that the coral reefs are also.
Let's hope this does exactly that. Let's hope it's and programs like Blue Planet that we get here in the UK, that David Attenborough has been quite famous for. You know, it's to try and raise awareness. Basically, I'm going to get myself into trouble by mentioning the word food, obviously, because you're here in the UK. How have you found the catering experience?
Oh, I have to say our hosts have been fantastic. The food is just... all right, so I do have to admit one thing.
Go on.
You got yourself in
trouble. That's right. Yes,
I do have to admit one thing, is that back in 1987 was my first trip to the UK.
Right.
I came with a high school tour group.
Okay.
And the food then was so terrible.
Oh.
It was just bland. Couldn't find a restaurant that had. And back then, my tastes were not as refined as they are now as I'm a grown adult. But the only place that we could find back then to eat was Kentucky Fried Chicken.
All
right. So that's all we ate the whole entire week.
Just give me a bucket any day.
Any day. Yeah, there you
absolutely.
go.
It's all about comfort.
It's comfort food. Well, I live in the South now. I don't eat any fried anything.
No, absolutely.
So I'm trying to lose that weight.
Yeah.
But to be honest with you, we had a fantastic curry meal last night.
Yeah.
And the one pub that I've had food at, the liquid diet was fantastic. And most people may or may not know this about me, but I'm not a beer guy. But so far the beer here, the blondes, I'm not talking about ladies. I'm talking about blonde.
Pale ales.
Yeah, pale ales. Add a little bit of fruit, maybe a slice of lime, and I've actually been relatively very happy.
Because you're sort of a Scotch guy normally, aren't you?
I'm a vodka, bourbon, Scotch.
Anything with an ABV of sort of 40%.
Yeah, exactly correct. But I do like Guinness. I do like the once you get into the darker beers, I will drink.
Plenty of iron. That's what they say about the thing. So look, now this is the first time that we've got the opportunity to interview you and chat to you. And we always ask all of our pilots one question. So to finish up, I'm going to ask you one question. Is there, if you take it to the world of aviation, a plane that's either flying currently or no longer in service, if you could get into the first, the captain's chair of any aircraft in the world, either flying or retired, what aircraft would you most love to have a go at?
Carlos. Carlos yelled it. He had it, and I actually brought a shirt with me. I'm not wearing it today, but I have two shirts that are very near and dear to my heart. The L-1011 is my favorite. Is my favorite aircraft of all time.
Really?
It was the. When I came to London, my first trip, I was on a TWA L-1011.
Wow.
It was the only airplane that was able to land at Heathrow because it was 0-0.
Okay.
So it was so far ahead of its time. And the 747s were going alternates. All aircraft were going alternates. L-1011 was the only one that can get in. And it was, it's just always been near and dear to my heart. I've spent many years flying on it. I got to ride on it in the jump seat a couple of times.
So what is it that you love about the L-1011? What is it that really sort of gets the juices flowing?
It's those RB211s, man.
Yeah.
You hear those things start up in the morning and they go, I'm not doing it very well, but there are recordings out in the way.
The spinning up of the engines and stuff.
And then it's smoking, and then the flight deck was very comfortable, and it was just very majestic, and just the way it flies with a direct lift system, right? And it was always very high attitude. It just was a fantastic riding aircraft, just like a Cadillac.
Wow.
Cadillac in the sky. It was just such a beautiful bird.
Wow.
So,
well, Dana, it's been absolutely fantastic to meet you.
Thank you, Matt.
Very much for chatting to us.
It.
And if they're not listening to APG, I don't know why they aren't. So if you want to enjoy the show, take yourself to airlinepilotguy.com, and you will find Dana, Captain Jeff, Dr. Steph, and Captain Nick, and all the usual crew there, usually once a week.
Well, great. Thank you. And PTUK, appreciate the opportunity to interview with you guys. I've really enjoyed it, and great meeting everybody here today and seeing you guys. So it's
been great to meet you. Thanks, Dana.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
I was so out of my comfort zone.
Dana. Dana's good.
I thought you were going to be unbearable.
Dana's good. Dana is just.
He's your new favourite APG host, isn't he?
He's just up the scale now on awesomeness.
Right. Okay. I did literally think he's going to be completely unbearable the minute he mentions the word L-1011. Dear, dear.
Thanks for that, Matt. That was well done. Well done. Yeah, well done.
Unfortunately, I did a lot of erring and umming because it's not normally me sort of doing the questions. I normally leave that to you, to be fair. But
no, you kind of strayed away there for a minute there. I think I was busy chatting somewhere.
Chatting someone up, knowing you, if I know you, blimey.
But
me and Nev are busy working away, getting content for the show. You're picking your nose.
But as always, Mr. Bones, sterling camera work from you.
Yes.
Oh, good. Yeah, glad you liked it.
I also
somebody's been playing with their caption machine as well.
I appreciated the captions during that video as well. You are a little tinker.
Indeed. There we go. All part of the fun.
So I hope you enjoyed that, guys and girls. We've got a few more of those bits from Farnborough still in the can, ready to come out in future episodes. So keep your eyes open.
Indeed.
But we have got the military segment to do right now.
Yes.
So if everyone's ready.
No.
Excellent. Let's go.
No, I wasn't joking. I'm not.
Okay, you're not ready.
See, what Carlos doesn't realise is there's like 3 screens that I have to go through to get to when he's just like, right, we're going to do the military.
We need a 40-inch touchscreen monitor for the tower. Anyway,
that's what she said, everyone.
I know.
Yeah.
So the first story, it's on the lincolnshirelive.co.uk website, and it's a story that's very important, I think, to anyone who loves the Red Arrows. So you probably have all heard that the RAF are selling off RAF Scampton.
Yes.
So the headline here, which RAF base will the Red Arrow's new home be? So here's what the latest things are from the Ministry of Defence. So since the Ministry of Defence announced the closure of RAF Scampton last month, there's been a burning question on most people's lips, including Jonathan Warner. And that is where we're going to keep the Red Arrows. So the Royal Air Force aerobatic team moved to Scampton in 1983, but will be forced to relocate by 2022 if the government does not reverse its decision to shut Scampton. However, no announcement has been made onto where the Red Arrow's new home could be. An MOD spokesman said that they're talking to the Civil Aviation Authority about the airspace and where we can find an airspace that will be good enough for a site for the Red Arrows to go to. They say that if we can find airspace in Yorkshire, we'll move them to Leeming. And if they say there's good airspace around Cranwell, it could be Cranwell as a location as well. Airspace is a complex business, they said. The southeast of England is one of the busiest airspaces in the world. So while no firm decision has been made, there's no doubt that any announcement that the Red Arrows will be moved out of bomber country, it would be greeted with huge disappointment by yellow bellies. And there's one base in Lincolnshire that does seem a viable option. RAF Cranwell, as the Reds have actually made their home there before. Scampton has been closed by the MOD before in 1995 when the Reds moved to Cranwell and flew to the airspace over Scampton to practice their aerobatics. A number of aviation enthusiasts across the country told Lincolnshire Live that they believe a move to Cranwell is the most logical choice. And the story goes on, but it'd be interesting to see obviously if they shut Scampton, because I don't think it's 100% concrete yet that they are going to shut
concrete.
Scampton,
I have to say, in the articles I've been reading this week, I think it might even have been Jonathan that sent me an article.
But obviously, as the story said, they need to move these guys to a base where they can practice fairly freely with the airspace. Obviously, like it says, it's congested in a lot of parts.
Well, then may I propose somewhere here in East Anglia? Then I think it would be an excellent.
Anyone who ever looks at
there's never anyone here. Nev can vouch for that. It takes forever to get here.
Perhaps we need them to move there. Yeah,
indeed. Anyway, on to the next story. Yeah, this is on the popularmechanics.com website, and the headline is NATO fighter jets accidentally fires air-to-air missile. Oops, near Russian border. Oh, double oops. So Eurofighter 2000 was on a NATO air patrol near the Russian border with Estonia today when it accidentally fired an air-to-air missile. Oops. The plane returned to some airbase. I'm not.
Siulali.
What he said, airbase in Lithuania. Anyway, but the missile is MIA. What does that mean?
Missing in action.
Missing in action. It's presumed. Blimey! Its presumed location is 40 kilometres north of Tartu in Estonia. Spanish authorities are warning people to beware going near something that looks like a missile. Something that looks like a missile. Right. The investigation is just beginning, but how can a modern fighter make such a serious mistake? The Eurofighter is a pretty smart aircraft, and a pilot can't just lean on a control stick or mistakenly press a button to fire a missile. The Spanish plane was an armament control system, ACS, in place, part of the plane's brain that controls missile shots, among other things. The fighter's flight manual makes it pretty clear that an air-to-air missile shot requires some interplay between the pilot, warplane and ordnance. The aircraft passes data about the target's direction and speed to the missile before launch. The user guide makes it clear that a clean shot is very much intentional and is governed by a process. The system calculates the minimum and two maximum weapon ranges, which are marked on the scale as horizontal lines. The two maximum ranges differ, as one range is based on the target remaining at 1 kilogram, while the other assumes that the target will perform an escape maneuver. However, there are times a pilot might need to take a quick shot. The pilot calls this shooting a missile in bore sight mode. The Eurofighter can do this according to the official literature. A gapped circle of fixed diameter having 6 dashes and centered on the LFD indicates the area in which the AMRAAM will search then, when launched, in visual mode 7.5 degrees around the bore site, known as the acquisition cone. But this is a dangerous move, taken only when a pilot is outnumbered by hostile aircraft, since the missile locks onto the first threat it sees. The idea that a NATO pilot should took steps by accident seems very remote. So the incident in Europe today will be researched and scrutinised, with investigators looking for human error, flight control computer bugs and other potential causes. If the incident holds true to history, it will be a combination of both. If NATO is lucky, the bad shooting will lead to easily made changes in software or training that will prevent future mishaps. So it's a slightly worrying story. If it was sort of near Russian airspace, there could have been there could have almost been a very nasty incident here. Nev, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I think as Armando pointed out in the chat room just now, someone's going to fill out a bit of paperwork.
Yes, I think there's going to be some forms needed filling in to put that one right. But as you say, I mean, the article is sorry, I didn't do a very good job of reading.
No, I think you don't actually.
But the summary of it essentially is that these things don't tend to launch accidentally. It's not just a case of, oops, I've caught the button and off it goes. So there's obviously either bugs or human error or both, as it's indicating, as to how come it accidentally deployed a missile that they now can't find. I wonder if it's significant that it's missing in action.
Well, it's laying somewhere.
Silence.
It's laying somewhere
Is it,
anyway.
Along with the wreckage of something, who knows?
Keep your eyes on eBay. It could appear on eBay.
Okay. Yes, fair enough. That's an unusual approach. Yes.
Well,
okay.
You never know.
Good. Yes.
You never know. So the next story then is on Flight Global's website, flightglobal.com. Drinking coffee here.
Are you? Right.
And,
it's not working.
No, I know it's my birthday, but I'm not drinking alcohol yet.
No. Okay. A bit early. Yes.
So Lockheed Martin delivers.
Or we could get Nev to read it, seeing as it's his go.
Oh, is it Nev? Yeah. Oh, God, I'm bloody miles out here. Sorry, Nev.
If the birthday boy wants to read it.
No.
He can't read. It's right.
Actually, Nev, definitely read this one, because I'm going to do a quick bit of research.
Oh, are you?
Carry on.
Fair enough. Okay. Well, as Carlos says, Lockheed Martin delivered its last C-5M Super Galaxy to the US Air Force on the 2nd of August, ending the service's upgrade program for the Vietnam War era heavy lift aircraft. Air Mobility Command began a program to modernize the C-5s in 1998 after a study concluded that the decades-old aircraft had 80% of their service life remaining. Since then, Lockheed Martin upgraded 52 C-5s for the US Air Force with new engines, avionics and diagnostic systems. Upgrades which will extend the service life of the fleet out until the 2040s. As part of the modernisation programme, the C-5's engines were upgraded from 4 GE TF39 engines to the F138 engines, and the new engines deliver a 22% increase in thrust, a 30% shorter takeoff roll, a 58% faster climb rate, according to the US Air Force. Lockheed Martin says that the new engines are also 10 times more reliable and quieter, and the aircraft's range was increased from 900 nautical miles to 5,250 nautical miles over its predecessors. The first C-5 was delivered in 1970 with 128 aircraft of the original A, B and C variations, delivered up until 1989, according to the US Air Force. Aircraft that weren't scheduled to be upgraded were retired by September 2017. The first operational C-5M was delivered to Dover Air Force Base, Delaware in 2009, and the aircraft are manufactured at Lockheed Martin's Marietta, Georgia facility. Touted as the USAF's largest transport, the aircraft's nose and aft doors open, allowing ground crews to simultaneously load and offload cargo from both ends, reducing cargo transfer times. Its wide berth and drive-on ramps enables double rows of Humvees to be carried. The C-5 is also capable of carrying two 78-ton M1A1 main battle tanks or helicopters and other large equipment intercontinental distances. So, yeah, massive upgrade there for the US Air Force.
I popped the picture up earlier, but I mean, I'm sorry, I'm going to do it again because this is a stunningly huge piece of kit, isn't it? It just looks like a beast.
I've seen one of these at various air shows and stuff, and up close and personal, they are awesome bits of kit. But bear in mind, these aircraft first flew back in June 1968.
Right.
1968.
Gosh.
So it's it's another one of those really well-built aircraft.
Lasting, yeah.
And rough kind of. I mean, because we always like to have a price on these things, don't we?
Right.
But the latest version of these,
price,
list price,
yeah.
the latest version, the C5M. Which has obviously had all the avionics upgrades, which if you look at the pictures actually looks quite nice on the flight deck. Will set you back just over $100 million.
Cheap.
$100 million. Yeah. So,
easy peasy.
But, I mean, that's not bad price really, considering how much stuff you can move with that thing.
Right. Okay.
You know.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably a bit much for a house move, but.
I mean, considering the Euro Millions was how much this week? 70.
I don't know.
I think it was 70-something million or something,
right.
something like that.
Okay. I think there's other things I'd rather spend it on, mate. I've got to be
okay.
honest. Yeah, no,
You've got to have somewhere to put this Galaxy as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. I mean, it costs you that for the hangar, I should imagine. Anyway.
Yeah. So that is where we are going to bring the military news segment to a close.
Okay.
And so we've got some info in regards to next weekend, because next Saturday is obviously our PTUK Summer Fly In Barbecue at Seething Airfield here in just down the road from us here, about 3 or 4 miles from us here. And we've got a little bit of info, so we're going to run through the various bits of info for that. So for those of you who are listening to the show at the moment, we are going to be sending out an email to anyone who's emailed us to the show with some details, timings and stuff. If you don't receive an email by end of play tomorrow, can you just fire us an email to podcast@planetalkinguk.com and I'll send that email to you if you haven't received one. But for those of you listening who may be coming down to see us here at Seething next weekend, we're going to try and all kind of congregate at the airfield at around about 12 p.m. midday. Yep. Obviously, me and Matt will be there at 2 in the morning.
Yeah, be back there at 2 o'clock in the morning. I think at this rate. Anyway,
for those of you, who might want the address, it's Seething Airfield, and that is Seething, which is just outside Norwich, which is our biggest city here. Oh, there's a bit of scratching there from the headphones. If you're using a sat nav, you want to put the postcode in November Romeo 35 to Echo Quebec, and that will give you the postcode to find it with a sat nav, because it is in the countryside.
It is, yes.
Seething Airfield. And Nev, what other info have we got there for the guys and girls?
Oh yes, I'm really glad you gave me some advance notice of that.
Okay.
So if you are flying in, the airfield frequency for Seething Radio is 122.605. A couple of phone numbers for you as well, which will be useful. The airfield clubhouse manager, 01508 550 453. And the airfield manager number is 01508 550 222. Now, Seething's got a 800-metre asphalt runway, which is designated 2406, and the circuit pattern is left-hand 1,000 feet above aerodrome level 424 and right-hand 1,000 feet above aerodrome level 406. There is a standard overhead join upon arrival, and please fly your circuits avoiding the local villages. Departures from 06 are subject to a noise abatement procedure. Turn right 30 degrees after passing the upwind end of the runway. Yes, so those are the details. You can actually find that information as well on the Seething Airfield website too.
Indeed. Also, it's worth a couple of things that I will just mention, if I may. Obviously, if you are planning
the menu?
What? Sorry.
What, the menu?
No, that's just a barbecue. Don't get excited. I haven't decided it. Two things I will mention. First of all, though, really is that if you would like to fly in, please can you let us know so that we can warn the airfield in advance. I know the contact details and stuff are there, but also we need to know for catering purposes. So if you are coming in, because hopefully we're going to be sort of sorting out the landing fees basically. So we need to know who's coming. And the second thing. it's very much weather dependent, and the decision, the final decision about whether it's definitely going ahead, is actually going to be taken by experts, not us. It's going to be taken by Pilot Pip and Captain Al, basically, as to whether it's definitely going ahead, because they are, let's be honest, they are experts when it comes to this sort of thing.
Yes.
It's certainly in regard to flying, because we have got, I'm pleased to say, we've got lots of people flying in. I'm really excited about it. But the final decision as to whether it's definitely going ahead, because the weather has been very odd, will be made on Thursday of this week.
Yeah.
So please watch our social media feeds, which is Plane Talking UK. So search for Plane Talking UK on both Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and all that kind of thing, and then it's podcast at planetalkinguk.com. If there's anything that you're not sure about, please don't hesitate to get in touch. It's podcast at planetalkinguk.com, and we'll answer any questions that you have. But yes, as I say, so at the moment the forecast looks very favourable both for Saturday and Sunday at the moment. So we're not anticipating any major changes, but we all know what the British weather can be like, and it can change at the blink of an eye. So for safety reasons, the decision will be made on Thursday as to whether it's definitely going ahead or not. But I mean, at the moment it all looks promising, so we're planning for everything to go ahead.
Bit of exciting news.
Oh yes.
Yeah. I had a message earlier this week from Alan Bales, who's a very good friend of the show, and fingers crossed, and this is fingers crossed, and he's had a slight issue with a service on the engine of the aircraft, but he's hoping to come to Seething next week. Now, Alan has got a T51 Mustang.
Oh wow!
Which is it's a replica P51 Mustang, but slightly shorter. It's a T51 Mustang, and hopefully, fingers crossed, Alan has said that he'll be flying in with that aircraft next weekend as well.
Fantastic.
And if he does, this aircraft is pretty awesome.
Pretty special. It'd be nice to see it close up actually as well, because I've only ever seen it in the air.
Yes,
so,
and Alan does aerobatics as well, which is quite cool. So we could even have our very own PTUK summer air show at Seething.
Steady on.
And also, don't forget as well, we've got a very good friend of ours, Dan, who is the guy who looked after us and sorted all this out for us at Seething. And Dan has a Long EZ, for which, if you don't know what the Long EZ is, Google it. It's an interesting aircraft to say the least, but it's awesome to see up close. And Dan will be there as well with that, along with a gathering of P-28s,
Indeed.
Cessnas, and whatever else flies in.
By the way, if you're not flying in, you're still welcome to join us if you want to come by car. Again, use the same sat-nav as sat-nav postcode that Carlos said, which was...
The sat-nav code was November Romeo 35 to Echo Quebec.
And again, if you wouldn't mind just emailing us, and this is purely for catering numbers, so we know how many burgers to bring, basically. Because Mum and I will be preparing things on Thursday in regard to food. The plan at the moment, what we're hoping is to say everybody to get here about 12, and then we're going to sort of basically have a barbecue and sort of socialise and things, and then technology permitting, and I do stress technology permitting, we're hoping to do a bit of a live show from there with you all there, which I think will be nice. So
it would be, we're looking forward to it. We're looking for hopefully as many of you guys and girls listening to the show, and not only today but obviously the audio version, which will go out tomorrow. Hopefully you'll be able to join us. And
the great news is, of course, the legend that is Nev is not only flying in with Sir Captain of Al, but he's bringing Mrs. Nev too.
Yeah, so we're hopefully all being well, as long as the weather holds out. Al's coming down to Wickham Air Park, which is my local GA airfield, and then we're heading east over to you guys.
Indeed.
So,
awesome. Pip's picking up a few as well, isn't he? He's bringing a plane full, I think, as well. He's got Barbara and Myla, and I think there was a third. Anyway, I'm getting into it.
There's planefuls.
It's going to be very,
coming.
very exciting. So we'll worry about the logistics when they're all here as to how we get them from one place to another. But anyway, it's going to be really good fun.
So before we finish the show, we normally do this at the beginning of the show. But we thought we'd have a bit of a turnaround day.
No, that's not what you mean at all. It's because you forgot, Carlos.
It's because I forgot, Even I didn't follow this week's show.
No, indeed, absolutely.
So obviously, as we do at this time of the month, we're going to hand things over to Nev to thank a few people.
Yes, and once again, your contributions to the Patreon fund have been fantastic. So we have to thank Adam Spink, Adrian Meacham, Andrew Wilson, Captain Jeff, Eric Graves, Evan Shue, Graham Haley, Jeff Ward, Jonathan Warner, Jordan Rose, Lee Parkinson, Liz Piper, Matt Caton, Matt Donnemeyer, Matt Bunting-Frame, Myler, Neil Lanwarn, Nick Anderson, Nico Rager, Philip Labe, Ray Williams, Ryan Harper, Stuart Backer, Stephanie Plummer, Steve Andress, Stuart Black, Trevor Smith, and York Moeller. And we have some recurring donations from Jenny Parkinson and Tom Thomas, and some special seething donations from Richard Adams and from Myler. So that's
very
all
exciting.
All very nice.
Yes,
and I've just noticed, just as I've been talking,
you've got mail.
I wonder what this is.
Okay, hang on.
Dear Carlos, this is a message from the APG crew because somebody told me I had to do this. So, I'm just kidding. We love you and wishing you a happy birthday, Carlos. I hope you have a great day.
Hey, Carlos, Dr. Steph here. Just wanted to say a quick cheers to another trip around the sun and give you all my best wishes for another upcoming year filled with aviation and beer and friends and more podcasts. Happy birthday.
Oh, brilliant. Well done. Carlos, mate, your age, did you know it was the same number as Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart's longest and last symphony?
Right.
And the Charlton Heston's designation on the Roman warship in the film Ben-Hur had the same number. In addition, remember Morpheus from Matrix? Well, he was on the 41st floor when he was being beaten up and questioned. But much more importantly, it's a marvelous number to have. So congratulations for getting there, and good luck if you want to get to 42.
I just learned, Nick, that he's actually 42 this year.
Oh, is that right? I can work that out. Hey, by the way, it's the same number as Rogers Bannister wore on his chest when he broke the 4-minute mile. Wow. It's also the international direct dialing code for Switzerland.
This is way more information than you wanted to know, Carlos. Sorry.
And George H.W. Bush was the 41st president.
Dana, do you have anything to say to Carlos?
It also means you're a homosexual in Mexico. 41 is slang for homosexual.
Right.
So, you know.
I'm sending this to him. Dana.
That's due to the 1901 arrest of 41 homosexuals in a hotel in Mexico City. Thought you'd like to know that, Matt.
Dana, can you actually speak right now? Okay. Liz, do you want to go?
No. All right. Hey, Carlos. As we'd say in Boston, happy frickin' birthday, man. And you're another year older, another trip around the sun, as Dr. Steph said. And, let me tell you something. It was great to meet you. We came over for the air show in Farnborough, as they say over there. And great to spend some time with you and get to meet you and know you. So many, many happy more birthdays ahead of you. And you're still a young chap, as you would say over there in the lovely English language. So continue with the great podcast and keep us laughing and cheering on for what you guys do over there. And thank you for spending some time with us over there in England. So happy, many, many more birthdays to you. Enjoy it.
It's Liz here. My honor and pleasure to say happy birthday to you. It was just great to be able to meet you in Pittsburgh last year. And hopefully I'll see you again maybe in a couple of years at Farnborough. You never know. Anyway, happy birthday. Have a great time, you and Gemma and Poppy. And happy birthday. Bye.
And finally, you probably thought that this would never end, and it's about to.
I found a flying reference.
Oh, my gosh.
Remember the Alfred Hitchcock film North by Northwest, where Cary Grant was attacked by a crop-dusting airplane?
Right.
It was on the corner of Highway 41.
And with that, we bid you a farewell, and as we would all like to say one more time,
Happy birthday, Carlos.
Do you know the funniest thing about that, Nev, is the bit where it was really funny. He had to pop out because somebody was at the door. So
really?
that'll be something for him to look forward to on catch
Blinking Amazon. Honestly,
yes, that'll be a real treat for you. Thanks, Captain Nick.
Oh,
Always
that was
mentally
awesome,
scarring
you
as
guys.
always. Yeah.
Oh, you lot are just so good, honestly. I tell you, since we started doing this show, every year, my birthday is just that bit more awesome.
Yes. It's actually on your day, on your actual birthday, which
actually
is
on my
nice
birthday,
this year.
yeah,
And
this
it is,
year.
yes. So happy birthday, Carlos.
Woo-hoo.
And thank you, Nev, for sorting all that out. That was very sweet. Of
I
you.
still have hair though. Look
yeah,
at that.
you do.
Look
It's not
at
bad.
The length of that hair.
Needs a
Matt
chop.
Put the camera on.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, you want me with the camera? Oh, you want them to see it? All right.
Look at this. Look.
Yeah, all right, well done. It's all right. I had a policeman this week tell me my hair was receding, so...
okay. You can borrow some of mine.
No, you're all right, thanks.
So, before we go, just quick social media links and stuff. Don't forget we have our website where you can go and purchase yourself a very fine PTUK T-shirt if you wanted to, and take yourselves over to there and have a look. And also there are some pictures on the website as well from Farnborough, which are on there. If you haven't seen the pictures from Farnborough, take yourselves over to the website. There are some Farnborough pictures on there. And that is about it, really.
Yeah,
so we're going to wrap up episode number 229 for this week. A huge thanks to everyone who's joined us today via the live chat room on YouTube. You lot are awesome as always, and we love you all, really. And a big thanks to Nev for sticking with us today, because obviously after Friday's debacle. But no, thanks to you, Nev. I hope you enjoy your Sunday, and give all our best to Mrs. Nev.
Yes, I certainly will. And hope you have a great birthday for the remainder of the day, mate.
Indeed.
And that is where we bring episode 229 to a close. Don't forget to join us next week for the show. And, from the PTUK studios.
Yeah, so if you want to get in touch with the show, obviously it's podcast@planetalkinguk.com. It's social media. Search for us with @planetalkinguk, both on Twitter and Facebook. You'll find us using those handles. Not 100% sure what time we're going to be live next week, because obviously it's going to be on Saturday, that we do know. And we're aiming for about 2 p.m, but it'll depend a bit on weather and things like that. So we're aiming for about 2 p.m, and we're hoping to be live from Seething Airshow as part of our PTUK summer barbecue. So from all of us here in the studio and wherever it is that you are listening and watching, thank you so much for joining us this time. Say goodbye. Bye-bye, everyone. Woo!